Hi everyone, this is just a quick video on refactoring our database Mongoose layer. We will add a context to our schema and we will then be able to easily access our database models throughout our application. So I'm just going to start the server up by using yarn dev. If you've watched the previous video, episode 5, you'll see that we added into the package JSON file a simple script called dev that runs node mon source. So that's how I'm using that if you've missed that episode. So what I'd like to do is get started by opening up our index file, and inside of here I'm going to include DB, and we will include the DB folder, so it's going to grab the index from there. And then above our schema we are going to add context, and inside of here we will add DB. Now all this does is it pipes this through context through GraphQL, so we've got access to that within our parameters in our resolvers, which I'll show you just in a moment. But if we open up our DB index file, and this file we're actually going to rename, and we're going to rename this file to be, we're just going to call this, we'll just call this connection for now. And then we'll create a new file called index, and inside of here we will require a connection, and no we won't, we'll include the event, and that is our event file, and we'll export that as a default event, so that's all we're getting passed through is just our events from this DB folder. It's kind of just a nice easier way. Now you'll see we're getting errors that schema is not a function inside of our event file. It's basically looking for this inside of Mongoose, but Mongoose here is actually not Mongoose anymore, it's just our event, so it's kind of calling itself. So what we need to do is just change this to connection, and you can name that to Mongoose, Mongo, MongoDB, whatever you like. I'm just going to call it connection for now. If we save that file, we should see that our application is running again. And if we just run our application and we open the graphical interface on port 5000 and we run all events and we grab the name and the ID, that is working fine. So there's kind of not a lot changed there. It hasn't affected the way that our graphical works. But that context is not being used, but it is being piped through. So what we can do now inside of our query is we'll open up all events. We no longer need to import this file. That is not required. Now this options bit here, this is also known as context, and using ES16 destructuring, what we'll do is include the event from our context. So if we have a look in our index, just to remind ourselves, we have access to this here, which is the context in our resolver, and our which is passed through here. This is our root and our arguments and our field ASTs as well. The root, you can obviously place root values in here as well, and you can access those from within your resolvers, and that's how we're using this context here. And context is just passed in as a third argument to the resolver. So that's pretty much all that is doing there. And then what we've got here is everything works exactly the same. Event is event here, and again event is just that model here, which has been exported. So it's kind of just a nice easier way to do that. Now we need to do that inside of our event as well, so we can do that. We no longer need that file, but where I have underscore here, we want to grab that event, save that as well, and finally inside of our mutation we will also remove that require. And after our data here, we will grab event from our DB context, and that is it. So our application's restarted, there are no errors. So if we pop over to our graphical and hit run, that should work fine as well. So we will also just pop in here and we will add a mutation, create event, pass in some data, pass in a name, and give it a name of my event is so cool. Really, really unique name, but There we go. That's added the event for us with a name, and that is working through our slightly refactored Mongo setup. Subscriptions. This works unchanged, and what we'll do in a later video is obviously hook that up to something else. So if you missed that episode, you should have a look at episode 5 on how we created subscriptions, and you can do that. So yeah, that's pretty much all we're going to do for this episode. We've just slightly refactored the way that we grab our DB, and that is just using the context through GraphQL. So enjoy, happy coding, have a great one, guys, and please share this video. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment below or speak to me on Twitter. I'm at NoTrab. That's just Barton backwards. Have a great one. Cheers.